is a Sunday, and I'm coming live. Uh, I wanted to share something with you that I found, and it's hot outside, so I'm inside, which I would have loved to be outside with you, but I'm not. So I'm going to continue something, but what I want to say is, I do a lot of sharing of my videos on Facebook, and I share to a lot of groups, a lot of different groups, and I just want to give them all a shout out for wanting to follow and learn and try to understand, the things, some of the things that we bring to the table on Environmental Coffee House are that page, and this is. I mean, it's like, yes, this is my hobby, but this is my life. And hi, Robin. You know what? I'm going to add this to the broadcast for a second. I want to see if it comes out. You can't see it. If anybody can see it. All right. I'm glad that you did it. I changed the color for the text and it doesn't look good in the color I changed it to. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to put comments up, but I want to read. And hey, Kim Santino, I hope she's feeling better. She had a shoulder replacement. I've told you guys all about it and all. And I don't think I can change the color at this point of the overlay. I don't know. I could try, but I really wanted to get into this thing, but maybe I'll try. Let's see. While we are all on the phone, on the thing together, maybe I'll add this and see what happens. I don't know. I'm going to test. It came out. Look at that. It worked. Okay. It came out. Hi, Kim. Good. I'm learning how to do things without screwing everything up. Yay. So shout out to Facebook, friends. Shout out to all of you. Since we've been talking about a little bit, well, on the natural progressive, and she's been talking about the Green New Deal, and, I've wanted to learn things. I know a follower of Val, Hal, they call him, I forget his whole thing, but Val, he's talking about AI for controlling the planet, essentially, but to control the planet so that we don't destroy the planet as humans. But I found this website called Local Futures. And the writer, this guy, his name is, he's only one of them, and his name is Jason Hickel. And the graphic that's up on the screen, which I want to see if I can see. That's why I turn on. Okay, I like to see what it comes out like. Oh yeah, my shirt looks blue, and actually it's completely green, and so is the ring. That's funny. It's because it's a green screen. I'm going to get started, but basically, degrowth, a call for radical abundance. This was one of three, and I was to choose, and I might come back to you with a series on this website and their writers and where they're from. I mean, he's an academician, so it's interesting, and I look for answers. I I I'm always inquisitive, and so I thought, well, here we go. So let's get started. Here we go. Degrowth, a call for radical abundance. When orthodox economists first encounter the idea of degrowth, they often jump to the conclusion that the objective is to reduce GDP. And because they see GDP as equivalent to social wealth, this makes them very upset. Nothing could be further from the truth. I reject fetishization of GDP as an objective in the existing economy. So it would make little sense for me to focus on GDP as the objective of a degrowth economy. Wanting to cut GDP is as senseless as wanting to grow it. The objective, rather, is to scale down the material throughput of the economy. From an ecological standpoint, this is what matters. And indeed, some orthodox economists might even agree. Where we differ is that while they persist in believing, against the evidence, that this can be done while continuing to grow GDP, I acknowledge that it is likely to result in a reduction of GDP, at least as we presently measure it. In other words, if we were to keep measuring the economy by gross domestic product, that's what we would see in a degrowth scenario. And that's okay. Chris is here, the natural progressive. I'll take a break. I thought you were camping. I just watched your camping. Oh my God. She's camping in the most beautiful place in the entire world, in Utah, with their horses. It's just so nice to see it. Oh my gosh. She's part of the family. We're all in this family. But I digress. And that's okay. It's okay because we know that human beings can thrive without extremely high levels of GDP. There are many pieces to this argument, but I want to focus on one here in particular. One of the core claims of degrowth economics is that by restoring public services and expanding the commons, people will be able to access the goods that they need to live well without needing high levels of income. Take London, for instance. Housing prices in London are astronomically high, to the point where a normal one-bedroom flat can cost upwards of $1 million. These prices are fictional. They are largely a consequence of financial speculation and quantitative easing. Now, imagine if the government were to cap the price of housing at half of its present level. Prices would still be outrageously high, but Londoners would suddenly be able to work and earn significantly less than they presently do without suffering any loss to their quality of life. Indeed, they would gain in terms of the time that they would spend with their friends and family doing things they love, improvements to their health and mental well-being, etc. The fictionally high prices of housing in London require that people work unnecessarily long hours to earn unnecessary money simply in order to access decent shelter, which they were previously able to access with a fraction of that income. The consequences of this unnecessary the consequence of this imperative is that everyone is forced to contribute unnecessarily to expanding the juggernaut of production, the output of which must in turn find an outlet in the form of ever increasing consumption. The problem is a problem, and it's as old as capitalism itself. And it has a name: enclosure. Ellen Wood argues that the origins of capitalism lay in the enclosure movement in England, during which wealthy elites walled off the commons and systematically forced peasants off the land in a violent, centuries-long campaign of dispossession. This period saw the abolition of the ancient right to habitation, once enshrined in the Charter of the Forest, which guaranteed that ordinary people would have access to the resources necessary for survival. Suddenly, England's peasants found themselves subject to a new regime. In order to survive, they had to compete with each other for leases on the newly privatized land. And the leases were allocated on the basis of productivity. So in order to retain their access to leases, farmers had to find ways to extract more and more from the earth and from labor, even if it was vastly in surplus to need. If they didn't, and if they lost their leases, they could face starvation. And of course, the same force, the imperative of ever increasing productivity, was also at work in the industrial sector. In other words, the birth of capitalism required the creation of scarcity. The constant creation of scarcity is the engine of the juggernaut. The same process unfolded around the world during European colonization. In South Africa, colonizers faced what they called the labor question. How do we get Africans to work in our mines and on our plantations for paltry wages? At the time, Africans were quite content with their subsistence lifestyles, where they had all the land and the water and the livestock they needed to thrive, and showed no inclination to do backbreaking work in European mines. The solution? Force them off their land or make them pay taxes in European currency, which can only be acquired in exchange for labor. And if they don't pay, punish them. Scarcity is the engine of capitalist expansion. And crucially, the scarcity was artificially created by elite accumulation backed up by state violence. In both England and South Africa, there was no actual scarcity. The same land and forests and resources remained, just as they had always been, but they were locked up. They were enclosed. In order to regain access to the means of survival, people had no choice but to participate in the juggernaut. Today, we feel the force of scarcity in the constant threat of unemployment. We must be ever more productive at work, or else we lose our jobs to someone who will be more productive than we are. But there is a paradox. As productivity rises, less labor is needed. So workers get laid off, and they find themselves with no means of survival, victims of artificial scarcity. And the state, desperate to reduce unemployment, must then find ways to grow the economy in order to create new jobs, just so people can survive. And all of us workers join in the choir. Give us growth, we need jobs. Give us growth, we need jobs. Yes. Even people who are concerned about ecological breakdown, which is most of us, are forced to submit to this logic. If you care about human lives, then you must call for growth. We can deal with the environment later. But there will be no later, because the problem of scarcity is never solved. I'll move this light a little bit. I can't see. Okay, it's a little in my eyes. Is never solved. Whenever scarcity is about to be solved, it is always quickly produced anew. Think about it. For 150 years, economists have predicted that in the very near future, our economy will be so productive and replete that we will all have to work no more than a few hours a day. But the prediction never comes true. Because capitalism transforms even the most spectacular productivity gains not into abundance and human freedom, but into scarcity. It's strange, isn't it? The ideology of capitalism is that it is a system that generates immense abundance, so much stuff. But in reality, it is a system that relies on the constant production of scarcity. The conundrum was first noticed back in 1804, and it became known as the Lauderdale paradox. Lauderdale pointed out that the only way to increase private riches, basically GDP, was to reduce what he called public wealth, or the commons. To enclose things that were once free so that people would have to pay in order to access them. To illustrate, he noted that colonialists would often even burn down trees that produced nuts and fruits so that the local inhabitants wouldn't be able to live off the natural abundance of the earth, but would be forced to work for wages in order to feed themselves. We see this happening today in the endless waves of privatization that have been unleashed all over the world. Education, healthcare, parks, swimming pools, social security, water. All social goods must be privatized. They must be made scarce. People must be made to pay in order to access them. And in order to pay, they will, of course, have to work, competing with each other in the labor market to be ever more productive. This logic reaches its apogee in the contemporary vision of austerity. What is austerity really? It is a desperate attempt to restart the engines of growth by splashing public investment in social goods and social protections, chopping away at what remains of the commons so that people are cast once again at the mercy of starvation. forced to increase their productivity if they want to survive. The point of austerity is to create scarcity. Suffering, indeed poverty, must be induced for the sake of more growth. It doesn't have to be this way. We can call a halt to this madness, throw a wrench in the juggernaut. By de-enclosing social goods and restoring the commons, we can ensure that people are able to access the things that they need to live a good life without having to generate piles of income in order to do so. And without feeling the never-ending growth machine. Private riches may shrink, as Lauderdale pointed out, but public wealth will increase. In this sense, degrowth is the very opposite of austerity. While austerity calls for scarcity in order to generate growth, degrowth calls for abundance in order to render growth unnecessary. Degrowth, at its core, is a demand for radical abundance. This was originally published on thelocalfutures.org. And I will tell you, I love it. I love what I found, and I'm going to continue looking at their readers and at their writers and all of the stuff that they have on there, because I think that I'm onto something here that we can all learn from. And I want to show you, I think I had his picture, but anyway, his name, Jason Hinkle, and Hickle, sorry. This is Hickle. I don't want to put it up right now. That's him. And I'll read you a little bit about him because, you know, you guys are asking questions and we're having conversation, and I'm going to go into this probably more on future streams because it's so fascinating. And one of the groups I share to, called Real Progressives, you know, they talk about modern monetary theory, and they talk about scarcity and austerity all the time as being so evil. So I'm interested in what some of my MMTers feel about this. So Jason, actually, he is, and he's only one of the writers. There's another book that I'm going to probably do another live stream on and read. Dr. Jason Hickle is an anthropologist, author, and he's a fellow at the Royal Society of the Arts. He's taught at the London School of Economics, the University of Virginia, and Goldsmiths, University of London. So he's written a lot of stuff. His research focuses on global inequality, political economy, post-development, and ecological economics. Oh my God. Interesting as hell to me. And it should be to you, because the discussions that we're having are all about how do we change? You know, we say, okay, can we change with climate change, as serious as it is, abrupt, scary, horrible, abrupt climate change, and the weather and the extreme things and all of it, right? Can we change? Well, do we have the time? Should we even try? Well, here is some interesting material that I have found. There was another article I wanted to read, but I'm not going to read it. It was 32-minute read, and I'm not up to a 32-minute read today, but I will continue because I think this is really interesting. And if I could get somebody from that organization to come on with me, I'm going to try. I think it would be great. So it's all about not being a capitalistic society. It's all about changing if we can. And people say we don't have time, we do have time, but again, I always say humans are always going to do what they're going to do. And if it's not technological, let's take a look at what this website and what these individuals are saying. Okay? So let's see some of your comments. And let me say hi to everybody. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning because Chris is here, and she said she had to unpack because she just came back from camping. And Bio's here, and Darlene is here. Hi, Human's here, and Kim. Okay, so this is really great. I'm happy that we've done this. And let me see here. Darlene says, and I'm gonna crop losses are big in the heartland. Stock up dry foodstuffs if you don't already. So I guess you guys, while I was reading that, you're thinking about the words scarcity, and you're thinking about the words austerity, and but this is a bigger picture, and it's like economics mixed in with our environment, and I'm fascinated. And in my copious spare time, of which I have a lot of, except for the things that need to be done, I'm going to bring it to you guys so that you don't have to go find it, because I think it's fascinating. Uh, Ed says, I hate it when they outsource our scarcity. Those damn foreigners get all our scarcity, driving up the cost of our scarcity. Ed, you're funny. You are funny. I can see what's happening. You guys are having a good time in the chat. So Raman asks, what kind of system do you replace this with? Well, funny you ask. There's a guy named Adam Soul that I want to bring on. Adam, he's been on, I don't know if you know Jamin Shively. He's got a show. They talk once a week. But Adam I found before that. Adam is a proponent of the money-free society. And I'd like to bring Adam on. He'd like to talk about his focus. And he's got a YouTube channel. I love to plug other people that have interesting ideas, because it ain't all about me. I'm just the conduit. I'm just the mouthpiece. I'm just something that can bring you to a higher consciousness, to a higher understanding, so you can go out and find and research. But again, I'm going to bring more of this to you because I think it's fascinating. I really do. I do. Human says, all food local, all banking local, worker-owned production, funded with unlimited grants. Well, I'll tell you what, Human, the book, the next time that I'm going to read, let me see if I can bring it in. Local is our future. Steps to economics of happiness. And I was going to read part of that, but I decided not to. I wanted to read this one article first because I thought it was a good way to break it into this whole genre of thinking. So that's the book. And of course, we're going to probably go over that in a subsequent stream. It's just very interesting. And now Robin asks, how does a city of 5 to 25 million grow locally? That's what it's not about growing. It isn't. And we're going to go into more of this. It's not about, I don't think it's about the size. I think it's about the system. And you know the old saying, right? We can't have infinite growth on a finite planet, right? So as I go along learning all this and opening my mind up, you come along on the ride, right? You come along with me. Definitely. Osama's here and Ed Summers here. Robin, we definitely, Robin, I'm loving that you're asking these questions because you're getting me to think and bring those answers. And Adam's here. Hi, Adam. How are you, Adam? It's great that on a Sunday everybody joined me because, and Fiesta Cranberry is here. Hi, the master gardener herself. She is a community gardener in a big city. She can say what city if she'd like to say, but I really I like her Facebook page on the gardening, and she gives me tips because a lot of you know a lot more than I do. So Robin, keep the questions coming because that's how we will continue this. I really did want to read the other one. The other article that I do want to read, though, it is quite lengthy. Again, I said, and it is oh gosh, everybody asks about my hair. Did you dye your hair? No, I'm shampooing it with purple shit my daughter gave me. She's 30 years old, thought it would be fun because I bitch and moan about stupid shit, so she gave it to me. Okay, there you go. Everybody has to ask. But there you go. So, oh yes, Adam, it's the social club. Social club is on Tuesdays. And Adam Soul is the money-free guy who I'm going to have on. And I think it'll be really interesting if you get a chance. Go to his channel and read up or watch his videos, because we could sit here and say we got 10 years, we got 12 years, we are so fucked, all of that stuff. But as I always say, we're still here, right? And as long as they're still here and people are going to still come up with things, I'm going to find them. The most interesting things. I'm going to find. Darlene, you're so sweet. She's got she's gonna leave because she's got hummingbirds on the balcony. And you know what? I would think that hummingbirds could take they could take place. They could take my place. They could be higher than me. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, I see, Fiesta. She means growing the food locally. How do you feed 5 to whatever million people growing the food locally? Well, we're going to find the answers. I don't have the answers, but I'm going to find them. I'm going to find them. Let's see. It's so nice to see you all here. Fiesta says she likes my hair. It's so funny. As I get older, and, I mean, how many years ago I would never have done this, but it's so silly. It's meaningless. It means nothing. Nothing does mean anything, really, the material stuff. What does it really mean? But I thought this was really interesting. So I think we've been on for a while, 26 minutes, and I've enjoyed this with all of you that have been here. Next, you know what? Next week, I should tell you, next Friday night, I think it's the 26th. Let me look, because I need to look at my calendar, and I can give you okay, the 26th, I believe I've got Paul Beckwith. Paul is going to be sitting with me and having a conversation. It's just like it's in my living room, and I love it. So let me look for Paul, and I'll make sure that that's the day. Paul will be with us, with me, and it is the 25th, Thursday the 25th at, can you see it? Thursday the 25th at 8 o'clock Eastern time. I asked, and Paul said, yeah, because I think it's been 2 years since I've had Paul have a conversation with me, and it's time. And then after that, that's next week. But Wednesday, it's going to be Antonio and Nicholas, and probably Jennifer and me, for a Nicholas and Antonio and Jennifer led conversation on extreme weather events and all the things that they're interested in. But I am really looking forward into digging into this whole genre of what I just read. So, guys, I'll also be bringing Alex Lonzos on, and he's got Enviralize on Facebook. He's an activist. I'm trying to get things to do with my summer so that I don't concentrate on the fact that I feel horrible and that I I don't want to concentrate on that. I want to concentrate on something that I look forward to, and that's you guys. Yes, Human says the weather gurus. Well, yeah, the weather gurus, and I know that Antonio is completely studying all on his own, and in his activism, he is learning so much. And Nicholas, and then Jennifer. Oh my God! I mean, Jennifer is so studied and educated in all of it. It's great. It's really great. Ed said, "I hope Paul's feeling better. He had shingles, and it does." But if he had that medicine, he's probably feeling better, because my brother just called. He had shingles, but he's away with my folks and my daughter this weekend. So I guess the medicine, whatever, is not so bad. It worked. Okay, well, listen, guys. Think about that. And I will be going further with this line. I like it. It's interesting. And maybe I will feel good enough to read the marathon article. It is really a complicated one, but it lays out a lot of interesting concepts. So listen, I love you all. Thank you for coming, and have a really wonderful rest of your Sunday. All right? Peace. Take care.